Hey everyone, welcome to another $1,000 strap search. I've got my $1,000 in singles here and I'm about to show you what I found. But before I do, let's talk about this week's tip. I get a lot of questions regarding people asking, what should I collect? Well, first and foremost, you should collect what you like. You should never collect something because somebody else says it's cool. You should collect it because you find it interesting. After all, it's your money you're spending on your collection. It should definitely reflect you. But that's just me sidestepping the issue. The truth of the matter is, people are most likely looking for insight to things that I think are probably undervalued and things that may go up in value quicker than the average item. So I will let the cat out of the bag for what I think is actually undervalued in our hobby and most likely to have the higher returns in the future. Some of you may have been able to identify it just based on the stuff that I show. I feel that fractional currency and Confederate currency especially, are extremely undervalued. They are a very important part of our country, both of which being Civil War issues, fractionals being Union, and obviously CSA being from the South. They only existed for a short period of time. The CSAs especially weren't designed well, so they weren't made to hold up. So there's all kinds of reasons for them. They weren't really mass produced. They were mass counterfeited, but the counterfeits are fairly easy to pick out. So those are the two directions that I've been trying to pick up stuff at a lesser price because I firmly believe some of them are going to go up in value. I've shown, I believe it was number 27 on the top 100 list, the $100 CSA with the train and the smokestack with the two variations. That bill's under $100. It's in the top 100 of all time. It's a $100 bill valued at under $100. And they only printed, what was it, 492,000 of them? So yeah, a lot of that story does not add up value-wise. The only thing is people aren't currently collecting them. So yeah, to answer that question, what do I think people should be picking up? That's the stuff that I'm picking up. I try to pick up as, anytime I see something at a really good price regarding CSAs and regarding fractionals, I tend to pick those up because I believe that's the undervalued section of our market right now. All right, let's get these out of the way. Take a look at what I found this week. Starting off, look at this serial number. 1302-2103. Well, what we are going to call this is what it actually is, which is a birthday note. That would be the 13th of February, 2013. That it definitely is. Some people would call it bookends because it starts with 13 and ends with 13. 1% of all bills start and end with the same digits because when you have two numbers there, there's 100 different combinations. So there's 100 different ways that they can be paired. One out of every 100 will be the same. Literally a 1% chance. And as small as 1% seems, that's not rare at all. So it's a birthday note. Bookends, no, we're not going to call it that. It's almost a repeater, or almost a radar, because you've got 2 in the middle, 0 but then you've got the 3 with the 1, and then you have the 1 with the 3, so it's not a true radar. And it's not even a one-off from a radar because the last 2 digits are wrong. So you can't call it that, but ultimately it was an interesting note because of all the things I was just able to talk about this particular note. Is it worth any additional money? No, not at all. But is it cool? Yeah, it is. It's an interesting note. That's why I pulled it, and that's why I wanted to share it. Another note that I found interesting, no additional value, the 7734 note. Why is that interesting? Well, because if you're a child like me and you turn it upside down, it says hell. So here's a note from hell. I know, I'm a toddler. What can I say? All right, then I've got some trinaries. This is 2s, 5s, and 9s. Here's zeros, threes, and nines. Not an ink smear. This is dirt. Ones, threes, and fives. Zeros, ones, and threes. Twos, threes, and nines. And I'm just looking at that. Nope, nothing funny. Nothing funky about that. Zeros, twos, and threes. At a glance, this looks like it would be some type of birthday note, but the best you can come up with a year would be 3003, and we're a little ways off from that. Fours, fives, and eights on this one. Zeros, threes, and sevens. And then we've got quads. Quad threes, and you can see they are not lined up right, but it is not an error. It's just a loose screw. No big deal. It's okay. Quad fours. Quad fives on an older note. And some stars. I always like seeing the star notes when they've got a couple zeros up front. To me, that always indicates a potential for a rare. I'll check all my stars on mycurrencycollection.com just to make sure. And we're also double checking to make sure that the stars aren't filled. 2013 and another 2013. On the older notes, 2001, not in the greatest of shape, but it's over 20 years old, so I pulled it. 1995, looking to see if it's a web note. It is not. Another 1995, also not a web note. And the oldest note I found was from 1988. And unfortunately, somebody wrote on it. It's from Chicago, so I know I've got this. But it was still the oldest find of the week, so I decided I was going to pull that. All right, so that's what I found this week. What did I bring out? Well, this week, I was able to knock off a wish list note. And I'm a little proud of this one because this is the exciting one, in my opinion. As far as what I was saying to introduce this particular video. I have an 1862 $2 Confederate States of America note. This particular one is called the Slayer note. It's called the Slayer note because it is the Confederacy slaying the Union. That's the picture up there on top. And it says right on top, 6 months after the ratification of a treaty of peace between the Confederate States and the United States, the Confederate States of America will pay $2 to the bearer in Richmond, Virginia. And you can see it's signed here and here. Those are real signatures. And if we look real close, you can see it's also hand numbered. Let's see, receivable and payment of all duties except export duties. And what else do we have here on this one? Treasury, what do we got here? Fundable in 8% stock or bonds of the Confederate States. So that covers everything written on it there. Let's see, second series is kind of important. And before we get into that, I'll just show the back real quick. It does have some folds. It's not perfect. As none of these would, because these were these were printed on rice paper. Now, the interesting part of this note, though, is right here. This green overprint. You can see the number, the digit 2 and the word 2 on it right there. That's what makes this interesting. When this note first came out, it did not have that green overprint, and it went quite a while without having the green overprint, and it was only at the end of the run that they added that green overprint. I don't know the full story as to why, I just know that they did, and it's huge. And what do I mean by that? Well, let's take a quick peek at the book, and maybe we can determine some stuff here. Where is the book? Here it is. What book? Of course, talking about paper money of the United States. And here we go. On the bottom, we've got April 18th, 1862, the $2 note, and you can see the Slayer note right there. Allegory of the South slaying the Union, Attorney General from 1861, Secretary of War 1862, and the Secretary of State Judah P. Benjamin at the left. The reverse is blank, and you can see the price starts at $45, goes up to $450 based on condition. This is not the note. This one is number 43, which says identical to CS42 with the denomination overprinted in green ink with a blank reverse. The other one was $45 to $450. This one starts off in VG8 at 75. At 12, it's $350. At 20, it's $1,000. And in grades above 20, it's either rare or very rare. Whenever you have a note that says rare or very rare rather than a price, to me, that's a good thing. So yeah, I was able to get one of these at a great price. And I also scooped up a second one that may show up on one of my auctions, just because I think these are such cool notes, and I think everybody should have a shot at having one, especially when you know that these are just hard to come by. Anyway, that's what I've got for you guys this week. The Slayer note from 1862 with the green overprint. This is the tough one. If you learned anything new this week, go ahead and hit that like button. If you like what you see and you want to see more, please subscribe. I love reading all your comments. Guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.